Hello, and welcome to part 8 of how to read and study the Bible using the Olivetree Bible app. Thank you for tuning in. And in chapter 7, we went and looked briefly at the lay of the land in the Bible app. We looked at where the tools are, just to get a familiarity with where the options and the tools are located. So today, in chapter 8, we're going to actually dive a little deeper and go into some of the depth of those tools and how to use them and what kind of functionality you can expect from them. This is kind of a long chapter, so I've chosen to break it up into three chapters, versions actually. Chapter 8, part 1, chapter 8, part 2, and chapter 8, part 3. So let's get started. Okay, I have my Bible app open to Matthew here, and today we're going to look at the top menu bar and these groupings of icons on the right side in my iPad view here. The first one today we're going to look at is the library icon. And if we click on the library icon, we can see it opened up to my audio view. I am going to actually click on that down arrow there in our audio view, and we have three choices in order to filter our library. We can choose books and audio. That will give us everything. We can click on it again and choose just books, and that will just give us our books. Or we can choose just audio, which is what was on just a minute ago. So I just happen to have 2 audio books in Olivetree in my entire library. Almost everything I have is books. So I'm going to go back to books because that's where I like to keep it, because that's what I use here. So that's this down arrow under books. And to the right of that, we have another link to the store. We've already looked at that. The store opens up, and you can look at the sales that they currently have going on. Again, I don't recommend ever buying anything through the Bible app because you end up actually buying it from the app store. I recommend buying any resources that you ever may want to buy from Olivetree from their website at olivetree.com. If you do that, you have the added advantage of having them keep track of your account and all your purchases, whether they're free books or whether they're paid books. They'll keep track of it forever, and that's a good thing to do. Hit my mouse button by accident here. So I would recommend that. So I'm going to turn this off here, and we're going to go back to the library icon, and that's the store menu icon. And now the search icon. This search icon, as opposed to this one up here, is specifically for searching in your library. So if you want to search for a book, you can click on that and search for a book. Let's put, Daniel. If I can spell it right. And all the books that are have Daniel in the title or have it in the content. So you can see this book down here, the New American Commentary, does not have the word Daniel in its title, but it has articles in there about Daniel. So we have these books. So that's just a way to search your library. And let's go back, hit cancel there, and go back to these. That's the search icon. Now next to that, we have the 3-dot menu icon. And if we click on that, we can have some choices of how we can view our library in the Bible app. So right now it's on grid view. This is called the grid view, where I can actually see what looks like covers of what would be the hardcover book, which I kind of like. But there are advantages to using the list view. So let's go look at the list view. And this is a list view. It shows pretty much the same amount. But if you switch over to the list view, you have some options in these 3-dot icons here. So this gives you options when you click on these 3 dots next to this book. These menu options are specifically for this book. So we'll look at that again in a couple of minutes. But this is the list view. And again, if you click on the 3-dot icon at the top, we have the enable grid view. And if we click on that, it'll give us the enable list view, which is what we're in now. We can toggle to a full screen if you want to look at your whole library. This is the full screen in the list view, and you can go to full screen in the grid view if you like. So click over to grid view and go back to full screen, and we can see our whole entire library in the, there we go. It's just a little slow coming up. I have a lot of books that I had to process. So we can look at our books this way if we like. And to get this view off, I'm going to click this check mark here to close it. And then I'm going to go back into the library icon and click on enable, click on toggle full screen library again to turn it off. So that's how you turn off and on the full screen. Excuse me. So now we're back to our list view, and we're looking at the all view, the view all. So these are all the books in my library, and I've been collecting books for 20 years, so I have quite a few of them in here, and it may not be that easy to just scroll around and look for a book, even though they are alphabetical. If you go over to the side here, you'll notice this is one way that you can search for books in your library. There's numbers here, 1, 3, and 5. And so if you want to search for a book that has a number as the first word in the title, like 1 Kings or 1 Samuel or 1 and 2 Samuel or 1 Chronicles or Corinthians or whatever, you can click on that, and then it'll show you the books that begin with numbers. And these other ones down here are letters, alphabetized. And so you can also search, like if you're looking for a book that begins with the letter D, these will show you the books that begin with the letter D. So that's another way to search, in addition to using the search on icon to search for your books. Another way to go through your library or to organize them is recents. So you can look under recents to just look at the books that you've opened up recently, which is helpful, much shorter list. My favorite way is using the favorites list. So these are the list of my favorites, and it's probably a little too long. I have quite a few favorites, and I should probably shorten it a little bit, but this is just a list of books that I have designated to be my favorites, and I have them listed in order of the ones I use the most often. For reading, I use the NIV 1984 version. For studying, I use the ESV Strong's Bible, and the NIV Word Study Bible, because both of these are connected to Greek dictionaries in English. So these are going to have dictionaries of the Greek word, the original Greek word in English. So I can see what the transliteration is, and I can see what the definition of the word was in the first century when the original author was writing the letter to the original audience. Very cool stuff, very powerful stuff, very good, and easy to use for someone like me who doesn't know a lick of Greek. So then I have some other books in my favorites here. And one thing that's powerful about this version of the list view in a way to look at your books and as opposed to the grid view, which looks nicer, is you have these additional options on the right side. So next to each book, you have another 3-dot menu icon. And this menu icon here is only for this book. So if I click on that, I have options that are only for that book. I can install resource update. In other words, Olivetree updates their books on a regular basis. If there's a typo, if there's a new hyperlink they've added to it, or the author has changed some text in it or something, they come out with updates. So you can update an individual book if you like. You can remove it from your favorites, because right now it knows I'm in my favorites. You can view resource info, which will tell you about the book, or you can share a resource, or you can remove it and archive it. So removing it and archiving it is something you might use, because if you have limited space available on a device like an iPhone or an iPad, and you have a large library like I do, or you just have a lot of other stuff on your phone like videos and photos and stuff, you may not want to use up a lot of resource data space on your drive. So you can remove things from your from your phone, from the storage space on your phone, but it doesn't remove it from your account. And that's why it's really one of the reasons why it's really important to keep track of all your books and buy them at olivetree.com, because they store them and they archive them, and you can download them again at any time you want. You can remove all your books and just keep 3 or 4 books at a time and just download the ones you want. And when you're done with a book, you can just remove it and archive it, and you can get it back anytime you want. So you don't lose the books here. It just stores them at olivetree.com in their cloud. So that's what that does. So if you click on a book in here, you can remove it from your icon. You can open it up in a parallel window. You can open up in the main window. So that's what these choices are. So if we go back to our view all, and I have some books here that are not in my favorites. I'm guessing this one is not in my favorites. If I click on this, I have a choice here to add it to my favorites. So now I can add it to my favorites. But if I go into my favorites, these 3-dot menu icons change because they're context sensitive. So now it knows I'm in my favorites, so I can remove this book from my favorites if I want. So that's why the list view is good. It's powerful because it gives you choices to control your books and manage your books. So that's the views. The next view is categories. And this is a great way to look for books too. I love using this one. So if I'm looking for devotionals, I can go right to the category called devotionals and look for all the books in my library that are devotionals. So I can look at those. Or if I want to look for all the books in my library that are just Bibles, I can click on here and it'll show me a list of all my Bibles. So those are just Bibles. Or if I'm looking for commentaries, I can look in here for commentaries, and the list is a lot shorter than the view all list. So I don't use the view all list very often. I use the favorites, or I use the categories one. If I'm looking for a sermon or an outline or a study Bible or a commentary or cross references, like this New Treasury of Scripture Knowledge is really good. And so is the Olivetree Bible Topics thread. It's like a topical Bible. It's really good. So that's how you can find things in your library using any of these 4 icons or these menu items at the top up here. So that's our lesson for today. I hope it was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.